We have some startling testimony from a former CIA targeting officer about what is going down in the United States right now. Over 1,000 Al-Qaeda trained terrorists here in our country. That's a number, and that is a statistic that is pretty scary. We got a bunch of updates on some of the attacks, New Year's Day attacks. Some of them do not paint some of the officials involved in a good light. Barricades were not raised, as is standard procedure in New Orleans. Who made the decision to not raise those barricades? Some serious questions to be asked. Let's jump into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade. And these are the things that the mainstream media is either brushing under the rug or just choosing flat out to ignore. Major news stories. If you believe the stuff coming out of the mainstream media right now, this is absolutely insane. 3 hours after the attack in New Orleans, we had an FBI spokeswoman, of course, because DEI, sharing with all of us in her diverse manner how this was definitely not a terrorist attack. We had pressure coming from the White House on New Orleans to stop calling it a terrorist attack. Now, we've seen just in the last few hours, the undersecretary, the underdirector, has come out and said this is an act of terror, but they're still saying that the connections between New Orleans and Las Vegas are just coincidental. We've just recently found out that they both served at the same military base. They were both former military, U.S. military, and they both served at Fort Bragg. Who else had a connection to Fort Bragg? That's right, the second attacker on President Trump. He went to Fort Bragg how many times? It was like 1,000 times. Just kind of kept going there. He didn't actually have any business reason to go there. He just happened to go there. When people accessed his cell phone GPS logs, they were able to reveal that. And of course, that embarrassed the government. And people said, gee, was he being groomed, trained by special operations, CIA people? Because that's who works at Fort Bragg. I mean, the people that topple governments in other countries, that's where they're based out of, okay? This FBI that looked us dead in the eyes 3 hours after the New Orleans attack with the ISIS flag zip-tied so we couldn't see it, had the audacity to look us in the eyes and say it wasn't a terrorist attack. Well, they're the same people now telling us that there's no connection, even though they both rented an electric vehicle, and we'll get back to why they did that. I think it's important for us to see that. And then we're going to get to the CIA targeting officers' warning about the scope of this. And they're saying basically that this isn't the end of this. This is just the beginning. Okay? So we have, they zip-tied it shut. These guys both rented vehicles from Toro, electric vehicles, notably. And then in addition to that, they both had connection to Fort Bragg. Do we know if they were there at the same time? Not yet. Not yet. Will the FBI investigate that? Of course not, because they're saying it's just a coincidence. Quinky-dink, right? Why wouldn't we trust them? We also now know that the Trump Tower terrorist apparently himself, before his stuff went off. And, those of you still on the fence about, oh, well, it's just a car, just caught fire. No, he pulled up, parked, and then his car went kablooey. There's video of it going kablooey. It did not catch fire. Something went off with inside of it. Now, we have Elon Musk out there saying the moron chose the wrong vehicle because the Cybertruck is more heavily reinforced than most vehicles. This really contained the blast and really saved lives because he chose the wrong vehicle. All right. We're going to talk about the barricades. We're going to talk about why they chose electric vehicles. We're going to talk about this 1,000 plus Al-Qaeda trained fighters within the borders of the United States. All right, let's start off here with why electric trucks? Why electric vehicles? Let me just put this. We're going to put the F-150 regular against the F-150 Lightning. And then you're going to start seeing some things pop out here. F-150 regular, 4,000 pounds. F-150 Lightning, 6,000 pounds. It's 50% heavier. Okay, so right there, if you're trying to use it as a assault vehicle, heavier is better. And that probably played a part in that. Also, acceleration. 0 to 60 for an F-150 is 7.6 seconds. A Lightning is 4.5 seconds. So faster acceleration, heavier vehicle. It's pretty straightforward why the New Orleans guy chose that vehicle. Now, he could have, and I think this may come out, he may have tried to get a Cybertruck and may not have been able to book one. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was the plan all along, because that would be an even worse vehicle to use than the F-150 Lightning. All right, so I think with those numbers, you can see that the electric vehicles are far more deadly, far more useful in attacks, and I think it's only fair to start calling them assault vehicles. And I think we should ban them. We should ban all electric vehicles because they have been used in attacks, and they have hurt people. And these are intentionally designed in order to be used as weapons. So I don't know if you guys want to get on board with me on that one, but I think we should ban electric vehicles because they're assault vehicles. All right, let's move on to barricades. The police superintendent, who looks like a grandma, clearly a DEI hire, very troubling. Not saying she's totally incompetent. I'm just saying that she's now telling us that she did not realize that the city of New Orleans has vehicle barricades. They have festivities, and in order to protect the pedestrians in those areas during festivities, they have vehicle barricades that raise up from the ground and block any vehicles getting onto those roads when pedestrians are taking over those streets. Those barricades were not raised. They're raised today. They pushed the button today, but they didn't push the button back yesterday. Why is that? Well, I think the police commissioner, who doesn't even know the security functions of her city, should have to answer that. And we need to specifically know who made the decision not to raise the vehicle barricades. Because I'm going to say this is even crazier. The fact that this guy seemed to anticipate that the vehicle barriers would not be raised possibly points to collusion. I'm not saying it is. I'm saying it definitely could point to that. If they usually raise the barricades and they didn't, and this guy seemed to have foreknowledge that they wouldn't raise the barricades, what kind of connection we got here? Did he pay somebody off? Do they go to the same mosque? Notably, the New Orleans guy's mosque, when approached by authorities, referred all of their questions to CAIR. C-A-I-R, the whatever for Islamic rights and stuff like that. It's like the ACLU for Muslims that blow stuff up. The mosque refused to answer any questions. The mosque refused to talk about any of their people that came, or even they're still calling him a suspect, even though either that or else they offed the wrong dude, like right next to the vehicle, okay? Both these guys didn't make it within a few feet of their vehicles, okay? So I don't know that calling them suspects is really accurate at this point. All right, so we've talked about the barricades. A lot of questions going to be coming out on that one. Of course, the mainstream media is not talking about that. They're not talking about why the electric vehicles were selected by these guys. The Trump Tower guy apparently saw how many lithium iron phosphate batteries are in the Cybertruck and hoped probably that that would add to the explosion, that it would cause even more damage. But due to the compartmentalization and stuff like that and the structural integrity of the vehicle, that did not happen, thankfully. All right, so in a recent discussion with on the Sean Ryan show, former CIA targeting officer Sarah Adams warned of a potentially devastating attack planned by Al-Qaeda terrorists on American soil. This was before the attacks, which was significant insights for us on what may be unfolding here. Al-Qaeda sleeper cells could be activating in the wake of these attacks. We've seen this before where several attacks were actually the activation code for other attacks to happen. So instead of putting out something in the news or like a phrase or even a transmission of some sort, they have used attacks to say, when you see something happen in New Orleans, that's when you need to start doing stuff. These may be triggering events, and we need to be bracing for this. All right, this is the part I want to skip down to here. Ryan, from the Sean Ryan show, asked Adams, I just want to clarify, you are 100% certain that there are 1,000 plus Al-Qaeda trained fighters within the U.S. borders. Adams, who is currently a global threat advisor with extensive experience in Middle East affairs and a former CIA targeting officer, said, well, Al-Qaeda, they told us. Well, Al-Qaeda says they trained and deployed 1,000 for this attack. They've told us. They've literally told us. And our intelligence agencies can't take this seriously. First off, I think that there are more than 1,000 Al-Qaeda members inside the United States. But for the homeland attack, which they've told us they're going to do, that number is based off what Al-Qaeda is saying, so they could have exaggerated it. However, they did have 1,400 in the Hamas attack, so the number is not off from what they did in the first round of attacks against Israel. Al-Qaeda has told us. Al-Qaeda has participated in the overthrow of Syria. They accomplished that. And now that they're done in Syria, what are they going to do next? Exactly what they told us that they're going to do. A homeland attack on the United States with 1,000 plus trained terrorists. We just had 2. Are you ready for 998 more? Give or take 500. Are you seeing why this is serious? This is what she said also. She said, we have not had a man walk up to a building with a vest on in America. Both of these guys clearly had the intent of not going home. That is different. That's different than these greenie weenies who glue themselves to the highway, who throw paint on paintings and soup on paintings. This is different. These guys are different. The green weenies we need to deal with. But, we need to arrest the people doing that kind of stuff. We need to make it clear that they are not accepted and not acceptable to our society as a whole. These guys are different. They want to overthrow our entire way of life. They want to kill everybody they can get their hands on. Sarah Adams outlined the enemy's plan for a homeland attack. And the Sean Ryan show said that this is information that every American should be aware of. 1,000 attackers that don't plan to go home. That's what we're facing. And when people are dedicated to their cause like this, they can do a lot of damage. We've already seen that. And the worst part is they're going to learn from each other. As they see these attacks happening, they're going to find the better methods of doing things. If you're at a large gathering of people, you need to be watching for an electric vehicle coming at you, because that was, in their minds, successful. Might be a little safer around a Trump Tower if you see an electric vehicle, because that was clearly unsuccessful. But they're going to become more successful, more lethal as they learn from each other, and there's 1,000 of them allegedly. Now, we know that there are 1,000 plus Iranian Revolutionary Guards people inside the United States. That's Iranian folks who answer to the Iranian government. We know that there are Russian operatives. We know that there are Chinese operatives. We know that there are a lot of foreign adversaries who have intelligence operators here in the United States, not just to gather information, but also to prepare to sabotage things. What happens if they stop trying to take out random people and they start going after our infrastructure? Our electric grid would last maybe minutes to hours under any sort of combined attack. We've seen some probing attacks done on transformers and other energy facilities here in the United States, and they were devastating, and they were just testing our system. When we start looking at people intentionally doing damage, remember that down in North Carolina, what was it, last year? They had a whole section of the grid go down because somebody intentionally targeted 2 specific substations. Because one was the backup substation for that loop, right? That network inside the power grid. And they attacked both substations and they took out that whole area. That takes basic planning. And to think that our enemies don't have basic planning capabilities or aren't being given those plans before they get here, I think is naive. We are extremely vulnerable to attack. We've been attacking other countries and people in foreign places for far too long, expecting that they will never be able to do anything back to us. And we are dead wrong on that. These are state actors. These are foreign state actors who are coming here to do us harm. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, these are political movements that have state sponsors. And it's only going to get worse. That's what they're telling us. That's what the people that actually know stuff and don't have an agenda to lie to us are telling us. All right, friends, I need you to be bracing for what may be coming next. I suggest staying away from extremely populated areas. Keep your head on a swivel. Don't be afraid. Be prepared. Okay? And be aware of what's happening around you and your family. All right, friends, thanks so much for watching. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report out.